We're Laura and Cindy, and you're listening to the Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry podcast, where we talk about natural horsekeeping and deepening your connection with your horse. I'm Laura, your horse care mentor. I teach natural horse management practices after working with over 200 horses and seeing how current industry standards are compromising the health of the horse.
And I'm Cindy, your horsemanship mentor, offering a proven and unique approach to creating deep connections with your horses from 20 plus years of experience, including working with wild Mustangs. If you enjoy this conversation, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to us so we can get this podcast into the ears of more passionate horse people.
In this episode, we're going to talk about recognizing when you're micromanaging your horse. It seems like it's a fairly common personality type in the horse world to be a high achiever, to have goals, to have aspirations, to want to do something and get something done. And oftentimes, the other side of that coin, the other side of that personality type is to want to control, to want to ensure that you get the outcome that you get. And that often leads us to micromanage our horses. And when we micromanage our horses, horses are wise and incredible, and they're creative and they're funny, and they have so much to bring to the table. And when we micromanage them, we turn off all input from them. We no longer receive what they're trying to tell us, and that shuts off half the relationship. So it's really important to recognize ways that you're micromanaging your horse and start walking it back and finding new ways. Cindy, what's some ways that you see people micromanaging their horses?
Well, the one that is so universal is when they're leading them right up by that snap. And I mean, I have witnessed very, very experienced riders and even trainers teaching students to hold them right up there by that snap. To me, that is coming from a place of I need to control this horse. And so the closer I am, the better control I have. But the reality of that is that horses are claustrophobic by nature. And so when you hold them tight like that and something spooks them or scares them, or they need to stop and check something out for a moment, and they feel that immediate tension on that rope, on that connection, it puts them into their fight or flight, into that sympathetic nervous system. And so they want to pull back harder and you want to grip on tighter. So that is really a very, very common way. Another micromanaging, and this is going to ruffle some feathers for sure, is cross ties. I do not believe in cross ties.
Me neither.
Period. Never, ever. I view them as a easy excuse for lack of trust, connection, and communication with your horse. Not giving your horse the opportunity to develop their emotional fitness.
Yeah.
Doesn't give them a voice or a choice.
Sets them up to panic if something happens because they don't have the ability to look around and see what's going on.
Exactly. And predators that have the eyes in front of their head, when we get scared, we get planted and we grip tight. Prey animals, eyes on either side of their head, when they get scared, super, super scared, they freeze. But when they get scared, they need to move their feet. And if they can't move their feet, then they get even more scared. And cross ties, I have seen some of the worst wrecks in cross ties, but more than that, I've seen some really, really good horses shut down. And I have taken people who are like always cross tying their horse. I'm like, why are you cross tying your horse? Well, because that's how I get them to stand still so I can do what I need to get done. And I'm like, have you ever tried it any other way? And some will say yes, and some will say no, I was taught this way. But if I know them well enough, I'll say, can I play with your horse? And I will not tie them at all. I will put the rope over my arm and I will groom them and I will clean all 4 feet. And if they need to move their feet, if they need to move at any time, I drift with them. And then I bring them back to where we were so that they know you're allowed to move your feet. However, this is where we're standing. This is where the comfort is. This is where the safety is. And then I will tack them up. And people are standing there with their jaws dropped. And it's like you don't know what your horse is capable of doing if you are not going to stop micromanaging them and trust them. You know, watching them lead or put them out on the circle to work groundwork, they're dragging, dragging them. And then the horse starts doing what they're wanting in the saddle or on the ground, and they're still kicking. They're still pulling.
Or still shaking the stick, shaking the
Yeah.
stick, shaking the stick. Yeah.
It's like, what do you want your horse to do? Well, I want them to do what they're doing. Well, are they doing it? Yeah. So then shut up. How do they know if they're right? If you keep barking at them. That's like a wise horseman used to say. It's like telling your husband or your kids to take the garbage out, and they're actively walking to the kitchen and grabbing the garbage, and you're walking behind them going, take the garbage out, take the garbage out, take the garbage out, all the way to the street. You know? Once the motion starts, you can shut up
Yeah.
until they stop or they do something you didn't ask for. Then you polite
Redirect.
show them the way.
But if we never give them the freedom to make the right choice, they'll never learn what the right choice is. I will not work on a horse as a hoof care practitioner that's hard tied or cross tied. I won't do it. That puts me in a position for that horse's only answer to get out of a situation is to go up in the air and come down on top of me.
Or
I
kicking.
worked on a horse last week for the first time who I know has had not a lot of hoof handling and she's nervous. She has had one trimmer who's really gained her trust, and it was a huge thing for her to let me get under her. And we had her completely at liberty. And we trimmed her that way. And I talked to her with my breath. And I told her, anytime you need this foot back, just ask nicely. I'll give it back to you. This is a little bit of a soapbox, but I've been on it lately and it kind of applies. If your hoof care professional thinks that that hoof horse should put its foot in its stand and not move until they're done, I would like you to ask that person to stand on one leg for 10 minutes without moving. You as a professional, if you can stand on one leg for 10 minutes without moving, maybe you can request that of a horse. It's completely ridiculous. I'm pulling on their hoof, I'm pulling them out of balance. Now, should they be slamming it out of my hand every 5 seconds? No. But you are allowed to ask for a break after a few minutes of me working on you. That in itself is not micromanaging. It is not rude to say, I'm getting tired standing on 3 legs. Can I have my leg back for 15 seconds? Of course you can. I'm getting tired of standing bent over. We can all take a break. You can walk around your pen. We can resettle. It's no problem. That will stop me from getting dragged around by a horse that's overtired and just trying to get out of there no matter what, versus being completely rigid and you have to stand perfectly still and give me your foot until I say I'm done.
The scenario that you're sharing with us is it doesn't make the farrier who wants your horse or expects your horse to keep their foot on the pedestal for that period of time until they say they can put it down. It doesn't make them bad. What it makes them is putting their purpose before their principles. It's the farrier who has to get 10 horses done in a day to pay the bills. So there's a fine line, but what Laura is sharing is that there are better ways. Laura is an elite who will actually do horses at liberty to do their feet. I don't know if she has any videos up on her Facebook of her doing her horse's hoofs laying down when
I do.
Laura
Yeah.
herself is 7 months pregnant. Okay, that comes from understanding what micromanaging is and working very, very hard not to do that, to let her horse know through patience, trust, connection, and communication that she has a voice and the relationship is built on love, connection, and respect. And what she's doing, what makes her elite from the others, is that she is striving. She won't do it with every client, but she is striving to help horses understand they can be done at liberty so that it's the opposite. So, what's the best way to help a horse through a troubled thing? Is interrupt the pattern by doing something exactly opposite. So what she's doing is, I'm not going to cross tie you. I'm not even going to tie you. I'm going to put the rope over your neck and I am going to do you. And if you need to move, you can move. We're going to talk about it. If you're moving disrespectfully, we're going to talk about that too. So not all farriers have that philosophy, sadly. Not all farriers have the opportunity to take that kind of time, you know?
And a lot of them don't have a horsemanship background.
Yes, that's
They
also true.
haven't been taught to work with breath and to read the horse's body language and to catch those subtle cues. And so that would be like completely, it seems way scarier to be like, I'm gonna go into a pen with a horse at liberty and pick up their foot and get underneath them because they could turn and nail me with any one of their feet. There's nothing to stop them. So there has to be a certain amount of trust in myself and trust with the horse and just reading the whole situation. And if the horse had in any way been defensive or aggressive, I would have had somebody standing by her head, made different choices. But if you don't have the confidence in yourself to read the situation, it seems like, no, I need that horse hard tied in a straight line so that they can't get me. And that is understandable. And I have all the understanding that farriers put themselves in a position to get clobbered. Like, and they want to, and it's, our livelihood requires us to keep us safe. But as a horse owner, it's important for you to understand that it is okay to ask for a different way, especially if you've been showing your horse this way and they speak this language.
Yes. And that I was, as you were saying that, I was, that's what I was thinking is that some farriers will not even work on a horse unless the person's holding them. They don't want them tied. Some farriers will just show up and go get your horse out of the pasture and tie them up and do their thing. And I guess that's great for some people. I want to be there. I
Yeah.
want to know what's going on with my horse. I don't want anybody to do something to my horse that's not in alignment with my program. But um, we're getting we're talking about the micromanaging. And what does micromanaging do to a horse psychologically? There's a lot of things that it does to a horse psychologically. Micromanaging in of itself comes from from that micromanager lacking the confidence in themselves in the current thing that they are doing. So whatever it is that you do with your horse that you're micromanaging them with, it's because subconsciously you don't believe that you have the ability to do it um, safely, adequately, the horrible, horrible P word, perfectly, you know, um, there's a lot of reasons we micromanage, and it's not if you're micromanaging your horse, there's a good chance you're micromanaging a lot of other things in your life. But what's happening to the horse is the horse feels the energy behind the micromanaging. And that energy is tension and fear has a smell. So they smell it. And if you have any kind of a relationship with your horse believes in you. And so when you come in and you're smelling like fear and you're needing to control and you're tense and you're clamping down, they that puts them on heightened alert. And so now they're nervous. And then you get more nervous. And then they get more nervous. And then we've got this horrible spin. Or they don't want to be with you. They resist you more, which makes you micromanage more. And you, not on purpose, and I say you generically,
You, us, yeah,
the
all of
human,
us, yes.
the human equation, the part in the equation is actually undermining that horse's own confidence, that horse's sense of safety and security. There's 4 things that are important to a horse. It's safety, comfort, play, and food. And when you come in and micromanage them, you're messing around with those very first 2 things, and they do come in that specific order. And so I have seen, and we've all seen, I think, one horse behaves several different ways depending on the people that are handling it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I see it with all my clients. Their horses are one way with them, and then I pick them up and start working with them, and they're an entirely different way with me. And that's because of how we show up. I work very, very hard. I used to be a micromanager. I still am in my own way. I do my best not to do it with my horses, but I can micromanage my husband really well.
Keeps them in line, man.
you know, I think in some ways I might believe, and I think a lot of women will join me that, men kind of need to be micromanaged. And dogs too. Women and horses, not so much. But micromanaging is a psychological game.
And it destroys your horse's reaction to think and problem solve.
Oh,
it
yeah.
turns them off. And Cindy and I have talked about this across so many episodes, but when we get into some unexpected disaster on the trail, we turn our control over to our horses and say, please help. You know more than me in this situation. And if you've been micromanaging the whole time and shut down their problem-solving abilities, that's not going to be good.
Ready to unlock true freedom with your horse? Join Unbridled Freedom, our private Facebook group for women on a spiritual journey in horsemanship. We don't fix our horses, we transform ourselves. This is your space to embrace challenges, celebrate victories, and deepen your bond with your horse. If you're ready to lead with wisdom, compassion, and inner peace, join us today. Let's dance with our horses as one. The link is in the show notes below. Yes. Such a powerful point, Laura. So powerful. And it starts in how you lead them.
It
And
starts in
then
how
you,
you take care of them. Do you keep them in a stall for their own safety because you don't think they can go out and be with others?
ooh, yeah,
Do you
that's a
feed
big
them
one.
an exactly rationed diet? Or do you give them a multitude of hays to choose from? Maybe a little extra just in case they wanted a little more. Do you trust them to make good decisions? There's, all over the place. I need a padded cell for my horse. And yes, I am a total stickler for safe fencing. And Cindy had safe fencing and had a disaster anyway. Harry ripped off half of his foot between two panels. Never ever did I consider horses could get hurt in panel fencing. Um, so yes, we put them in a human world and they screw up and make mistakes. They get cast, they get stuck, they get snagged. But we have to realize that that in itself is our doing. We put that fence there. And of course, we have to contain them. I'm not saying put your horses out in the neighborhood and tell them good luck. But I'm saying just because sometimes they struggle to exist in a man-made world doesn't mean they're not worthy of being able to make their own decisions.
Yeah, this is such a universal subject because as I'm listening to you talk for several generations now, the same thing's been happening to kids,
Yeah.
micromanaging the kids and telling them what to do, when to do, how to do it. And if they didn't do it right, you'd criticize that. And so not only do you take their creativity and their desire to explore and problem solve, but then you take that away from them. But then on top of that, when you criticize that what they did, even if it wasn't done the way you wanted it done, did it get done? And if you criticize that, you're killing that part in them that wants to be independent and expressing themselves and being seen and being heard. And I can tell you, as a woman who's lived a lot of years, having been raised by micromanagers and never being able to do anything right, it's taken me a lot of years to want to be seen and heard. And
Hmm.
I still struggle with it. I have a lot to know. I know that to learn and to grow, but I also know a lot. But I catch myself as an adult who can see I can produce results with horses, and I still get afraid to be seen and heard. So that came from micromanaging
Yeah.
as a baby, as a toddler, as a
Yeah.
young kid.
It's really funny right now. Um, S is one now. She's walking. She's into everything, and she used to just happily be on in a backpack when I'm around the horses, and that is ending. She wants to help. She really wants to help when I pick poop because once I had her help push the wheelbarrow, and now she's like, I want to do that. And so I put her down the other day, and the next thing I know, she's grabbing handfuls of poop and throwing it in the wheelbarrow, which I'm like, that is so gross, but also you are helping, and that is exactly what we're doing here. So we put her back in the backpack, and she's all mad, and I'm like trying to let her be down, but don't touch poop, and that's gross. And how am I going to solve that problem? The way I'm going to solve that problem is I'm going to go to the little kid store and get her a little rake
Oh yeah.
and let her just poke
And
the
a
poop
little
with the rake.
shovel so she gets to
Yes.
practice both.
Like that is I I'm not going to be able to tell her don't touch the poop. I have
Well,
to
no,
teach
because
her
you
how to
touch it all the
I
time.
touch it. Yeah, I have to teach her how we touch it.
But see, and this will be fun, you guys. We want Laura to give us feedback on this. Don't teach her what to do with it. Just give her the rake or the shovel if you get both. Just give them to her and say, "This is how we pick up poop." And then you start picking up poop again and watch her emulate you, figure it out how to do it, because that right there is nurturing
Yep.
that curiosity, that problem solving, that freedom, that it doesn't matter if you hold it by the forks and you try to pick it up with the handle.
Right.
You're gonna figure it out. The only one rule we have is don't pick the poop up with your hand.
Hands, and please don't put it in your mouth. Like,
But that's a beautiful example. We micromanage our children, and then we wonder why they always have to be told what to do. And employers do it,
yep.
corporate leaders do it.
I mean, I can think about different versions of myself in jobs when I knew it was fine for me to be creative and problem solve, and I wasn't going to be, threatened of fired if I made a mistake, where I was a very good employee and I could be relied on to give me a task and go out and do it. And jobs that were super micromanaging and destroyed my confidence. And oh my gosh, you made a typo in this email. So now we're gonna, we might fire you. And how much of a shell of myself that I was in those jobs because I was so scared to mess up. Like, same person, completely different environments, completely different expression of me.
How might one micromanage themselves? I think we can. I think that's part of that description of the type A personality.
I now, after being a stay-at-home mom for a year, have 3 days a week, 3 half days a week of childcare. My husband had to say, you need to make one of those mornings a horse morning and get out of here and stop sitting at the computer doing work. And I was like, I'm allowed to do that?
Yeah. So that's that micromanaging. We have to get all of our stuff done before we can go
Yep.
do something fun.
Yep. Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever looked at your horse and wondered if they're thriving in your care? Is there more you can do to give them the best life possible? Most ranches and boarding facilities are set up for convenience, not horse health, but there's tons you can do to fix your horse's situation if you're willing to get creative. Join Evidence-Based Horsekeeping, my Facebook group where members learn how to improve the mental and physical well-being of their horses. The link is in the show notes. When I get to the barn, today I rode before I picked poop. It was so scandalous.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Nobody was looking, were they?
No, thankfully there was nobody there, so I wasn't caught.
Okay. Whew. So see the pressure we put on ourselves. And so this is something that I would like, if any of this resonates with you guys, I'd like for you to ponder. Where does that come from? For me, I don't get out and do nearly enough with my own horses because I have so much other stuff that has to get done. And it was ingrained in me when I was small that you can't go have fun until all your chores are done. Well, shit. Nobody told me that when you become an adult,
The chores are never done.
the chores are never ending. When I was little, I had my, what I thought was a lot then.
Cleaned your room, you made your bed, and you could go outside.
Polished the furniture, which I could never get right and always had to do over, and got my allowance cut in half because of a poor performance while ever my siblings were waiting for me. No trauma there, yeah. So, it's a learned behavior, but I think that we're kind of coming actually to the point. I don't know how long we've been in this podcast, but I'm actually now coming to the point of all of this. When we micromanage ourselves, we're not having fun.
Yeah.
Life becomes burdensome. When we micromanage our horses, it's coming from either a type A personality and it has to be perfect. I want it to be perfect. I won't be happy unless it's perfect. Instead of just be happy that you're out there with the horse, that you even have a horse, that's pretty huge that I think we all take for granted. But it's coming from there, or the micromanaging is coming from, I'm not really confident that I'm able to do what I want to do. And therefore, I have to really control the situation. And either way doesn't make it fun for the horse. The horse doesn't understand that there's a right or a wrong in a humansville perspective. I mean, they know what feels right or wrong to them intuitively, but they don't have the same perception as we do. Um, they don't understand why when you ask them to do something and they give you something, you keep making them do it over and over and over again. You're not changing anything. You just keep repeating the ask and they keep giving you the answer and then you make them keep doing it. So they're like, I don't understand what's going on. So they either get worried, they get shut down, they get obstinate. When in reality is we have to take a breath, recognize we're just repeating, we're not progressing, and therefore there's a disconnect. It's either in my ask or their understanding because if you're asking and they're giving you the same thing over and over again and you stop them and then you demand it again, well, about the third time of asking, it's now demanding and it's coming with a really shitty feel from your end of the rope or your end of the reins. And they clearly don't understand what you're asking for. So you have to stop. You have to take a deep breath and open your mind and open your heart and breathe and soften your expectations of like, all right, he may not understand what I'm saying. Maybe I don't understand what I'm looking for. You know, maybe we both don't get it. And then you have to be open and soft enough, not clenching your jaw and grabbing the rope. And you have to receive your horse in that moment. What's the look in their eye? Is their upper eyelid that upside down V of worry and confusion? Are their muzzles soft or is it pierced? And you can see that tendon just on the corners of their mouth going up towards their eyes. Look at your horse and receive what it is they're saying, because so often when you're asking and they're giving and it's going nowhere, but a tailspin fast, you can see it in your horse that there's a disconnect. And it's not your horse's responsibility to make that connection. He's not the one that has the agenda. All he would want to do is, hey, can we kiss and make up and go graze?
Right.
That would be a good day. That would be like a kick-ass day. If we could just like, sit underneath that tree and I'll just be over here grazing and we'll look at each other with loving eyes and then we'll call it good. So you have to be the one that's willing to say, okay, this isn't working. I need to get back in my body, realize I have high expectations. I'm micromanaging, recognizing micromanaging, AKA I'm searching for perfection. Why? Are we being judged? Does our life depend on it? Why are we searching for perfection? B, am I confident in what I'm doing? Am I afraid? Am I afraid of what I'm doing? And I'll tell you, there's times that I'm asking a fresh colt to do something. Like I'm working with this little Mustang, Sadiebug, who when I first started working with her, she would rather bite me, kick me, pin her ears at me, charge me, do anything before she wanted to be with me. And now we're like talking saddle pad and legs underneath her body. So when I put my foot in the stirrup, she understands. And she still has that go-to of biting, striking, I forgot to say striking. She's great at striking and kicking. Oh, and taking off and bucking, aka kicking at your face. She's all of those. And I have fear, but I have to realize that that's my fear. And I have
Mhm.
to take nice deep breaths and I have to slow down and I cannot micromanage her. I have to ask her with confidence and give her the space to figure it out and be open and soft in my ask, but not too soft. And be willing to receive whatever she gives me with an open heart of, yes, Sadie, thank you. Now we have something to work with, right? When they give you something, if you can celebrate it, like, yay, now we've got some motion. Now let's put some rhythm and some connection and trust and conversation to that motion. That's nurturing the relationship and the partnership in a way that she emotionally is respected and engaged.
I want to highlight something that you said. You said you were talking about receiving your horse. So when we are overthinking, when we're achieving, we're like, I'm going to get to the barn and I'm going to do the most perfect groundwork circles you have ever seen. You're in your way overthinking, overcritical mind. And you're already probably tearing yourself down as you're starting this exercise. You are not receiving. Your connection to your horse is completely severed when you're in that overthinking, overcritical mind. And then you're micromanaging them physically while being completely disconnected mentally, emotionally. You have this beautiful, intuitive being in front of you that loves to give you feedback. And when you take a minute to recognize that all that's there, be like, oh my gosh, I am feeling like the people at the barn are watching me, whether or not they are. Their opinion of you is none of your business, but that can be pretty hard to embody. So I'm going to do my best to turn that off. And instead, I'm going to receive the horse in front of me. All of a sudden, your awareness and your observational skills and your ability to make just really powerful micro adjustments in yourself skyrockets because you're communicating on such a higher, that energetic, intuitive level.
You're in that space of receiving, which puts your horse in that space of giving.
And you're receiving and giving from each other
And
in this like
yes, and
pulse of
so
energy.
it's that infinity sign
Yes.
of giving and receiving and flowing.
And that's the shape that energy loves to flow in.
Exactly. And so what does being open and soften mean? I have watched people pull their horse around the circle and keep that stick active all the time, even when the horse is doing exactly what they want. That's what we mean by that. Or you are riding your horse and you squeeze them to go, and they're going, and they're going.
And now
You,
you're
you
holding
want
on.
you want them to be walking, right? And they're walking, and you keep kicking and kicking and kicking and kicking. And it's like, why are you kicking? And I will ask my clients, why are you kicking your horse? Well, because I want them to keep going, but but they're going. Well, if I stop kicking, they'll stop going. Well, then let them make that mistake and ask them to go again. But if you keep kicking, you're going to do a couple things. You're going to desensitize your horse to the kick. And then, therefore, you'll have to be kicking harder. And two, you're micromanaging. So your horse is if they're not trying to go faster, then you have successfully desensitized your horse. If they are trying to go faster, now you're pulling them back, which, remember, most of them are wearing a bit that's hard on the most sensitive spot of their mouth other than their genitalia. So you're kicking to go and pulling to stop, and that's micromanaging. But the other visual I'm having of like, how do you open and how do you soften? Because it's a learned, it takes trust. It takes trust in yourself and the situation. And if you're engaging with another, then it takes some trust in them as well. But what's coming to my mind is like trying to force it, the opposite of being soft and letting it flow is trying to force it. And it's like, how many times have you been trying to put some kind of piece of tack together? And you're trying and you're pushing and you're screaming and you're pulling and you're twisting and you're getting the screwdriver and you're using your teeth and you can't get it. And then somebody comes along and says, "Hey, can I help you?" Fine. Give it to them, and they just very calmly and softly give it some slack, move it around, and it comes off completely with ease and grace. And you're like feeling really a lot of different emotions. We won't even talk about what you're feeling in that moment, but you're very aware of what you're feeling. That is being soft.
Yeah. Feeling out the situation is being soft.
Yeah.
Putting aside your thoughts and expectations and assumptions and really just saying, what's in front of me? Show me what's here right now.
Horses work off of energy. You watch horses in a herd together. How often do they actually have physical contact? Not very often, right, Laura?
No.
Because they're moving each other's energy. They're soft, but they're confident. And they're open to whatever that horse is going to give them. And they rise to the moment of what that horse gives. I recently have been working with a couple of troubled horses, and I know a lot of it has to do with micromanaging in their past. And so I know that horses, like humans, love rhythm. It just frees us, it softens us and opens us, right? And gives us the ability to receive. So I will often turn on music in my back pocket because that just softens me immediately, and it tunes out. It's almost like it puts this light globe around the horse and I, so that it's just me and the horse and the rhythm. Sometimes it's a song I like and I'll sing or I'll dance to the rhythm, and the horse will I'll start moving to the rhythm of the trot with the music, and the horse will start trotting, and next thing we know, we're flowing and we're dancing. So whatever it takes to recognize when you're tight and trying to control. And while this is new to you, just recognizing when you're tight, or maybe when your horse is tight, when your horse feels like he's, just stop and take 4 really, really deep breaths in through the top of your head. Yes, I said through the top of your head, all the way out through the soles of your feet.
So think about what Cindy just said. When your horse is tight, you soften in response. Think of a time in your life when you felt a lot of resistance around something and you reached out for help and you were met with equal and opposite resistance. What did that do to the resistance in you? It doubles it, it triples it. Versus you're met with that mother energy that you needed in the moment of open arms, of come as you are and it's going to be okay. And we're going to figure it out together no matter what it is. And it just, I feel so much better.
Open, soft, and receptive.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Laura.
That is But we have to remember when our horses are getting tight and mad and upset and micromanaging them isn't the answer.
No. I I can't remember how long ago it was. It was when I first started working with Mustangs. I had one of my mentors tell me, stop looking at everything that's going wrong.
Mm.
Notice it. File it away. Like, we might need to work on that. Stop looking at everything that's going wrong. Observe it, remember it, and think about whether it needs attention. But start looking for as many opportunities in every engagement with your horse to make them feel like a winner. How many times can you celebrate your horse's effort? Because they feel the energy. We just talked about their energy being, and we talked a lot about in this episode, that they thrive on energy. They feel just like you feel, just like little Sophie feels when the energy from her parents is, you are the most amazing child in this house, versus, oh my God, you're being horrid.
Pull that cat's tail one more time.
So look for those moments to make your horse feel like a winner, like they're the best horse on the property.
That is a huge practice in stopping micromanaging. You cannot micromanage if you are looking for those moments, because you're going to immediately see how you're getting in your horse's way when you do that.
The takeaway today, guys, is start counting how many times in every session did you celebrate your horse for being a winner, for doing something amazing, turning and looking at you and asking you, can I stop now? Yes, you're asking questions. That's beautiful. You're the best horse in the pen. I'm always telling my horses, you're the best horse in this pen. So give it a go.
Yeah, and as always, we want to hear what happens.
Yes. And we want to hear about Sophie and the rake.
Okay, I'm on the hunt for a kid-sized rake.
Yeah. God, there used to be Toys R Us, but dollar store maybe, or
Yeah.
Amazon.
We will find one. I'm confident of that.
So if you have any questions about the topics covered in this episode, send us a message on our Facebook page, Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry, and we will answer your question in a post on our page. You will be anonymous. We'll just take the question and provide our input, and we want to do it on the post so that we can all learn and grow together, because nobody knows everything. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. We want to remind you that we'll be here every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, following the golden rule. Have a plan, but always be willing to be flexible. Don't forget to connect with us using the links in the show notes below.
If you learned something new today, had an aha, or walked away with a valuable nugget, you can say thanks by leaving us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on.